When candling your eggs for the first time, there are two things you really want to look for. You want to look for all those beautiful spidery veins, as well as a small little glob in the middle that moves around. Now this is a goose egg, so it is big and exaggerated, but this is a good way to share and show what you're looking for, to show that this is a viable, developing egg. And this is the first candling for these goose eggs. They've been in the incubator for just a little over a week, and I'm excited that 2 out of 3 are developing. The third one is a total dud. There's no veins, no glob, no signs of any development at any point, meaning most likely that this egg wasn't even fertilized to begin with, meaning it had no chance of ever developing into a chick. It's hatch day, fellow homesteaders. And I totally didn't do it on purpose, but my hatch rounds begin today on Easter. And to prepare for the first hatch day in my staggered hatch, I had to take all the eggs out in order to candle them, and they are all at different stages. So let's check out each stage. And I'll start off by candling the youngest eggs, meaning the ones that I most recently put into the incubator. The youngest eggs will be placed as the first full layer of eggs. So we're going to check those first, so they are first to go into the incubator. And I started off using my little box candler. Box candlers work really well, but I have found that in early stage development, it can be pretty hard to see all those little veins. They do work nicely in later stages, but I prefer to just use my hand to cup the egg to shine the light through, and you can see those veins much better. Using candlers like this just seems to not quite direct the light in a way that makes it easier to be able to see what's going on. And also partially being able to maybe make some adjustments to the candler so you don't get that halo effect, so you can see better. But I still just like using my hand to cup the egg with the flashlight, and you can really see all those little veins. This is a great example of a blob and the veins that you're looking for in an egg's early development. And sometimes it's really hard to see what's going on just due to the color of the egg. But here in these, you can see that the veins almost are the same color as the shell, but looking closely, they are there. Now it's time to mark all the new air cells. These eggs have been in there for about 4 to 5 days, so they get a new air cell mark and back into the incubator. These eggs are around a week at this point, and it's great because you can really see the dark glob. Excuse the camera not wanting to focus. But you're able to see the dark moving glob within these eggs, meaning they're still moving, grooving, and growing. And it's just the coolest thing to sit and watch these little guys move around. And depending on where they're sitting within the egg, sometimes they'll look much lighter or much darker when candling. Like this one here, he looks very big and dark and is definitely wiggling. Now this is a great example of a death ring, or an egg that started to develop and stopped. The blood pools and creates a ring. Here's another with a dark, wiggly, gooby glob that kind of swooshes around, showing that it is live and growing and a happy little egg doing its thing. And this egg looks pretty cool, being it is a very light egg, and you can see the dark little blob and the very cool looking spidery veins. As well as this next one is a lighter egg, and you can see the little glob of a chick wiggling around and the veins that we're looking for. And this one is actually a bit lighter, meaning that it may be behind in development. But also, as I said, it kind of depends on their positioning, how dark the glob looks. The one right next to the previous one is also a little light, so it is possible that they were in a cooler spot in the incubator. Cooler temperatures can cause a slower development. Before those eggs go back into the incubator, I want to put a new round of eggs to replace the eggs that are going to hatch soon. These will be part of the newest bottom layer that will hatch later, so that all the eggs that are hatching sooner will be stacked on top of them. This next batch of eggs are the ones that are going to hatch the soonest, and they will sit on top of the eggs that I had just added in. And these eggs are showing good veining, good movement. The air cells look right about where they should be. They have about 5 days till hatch, and I may candle them one more time before lockdown, as in the 3 days before they hatch that I don't want them to be moved so they can move into position to get ready to hatch. Now this egg was cracked. I'm not sure if it was from me or from being laid, but it does have some wax on it. It's nice because you can seal cracks with wax, and for the most part, in my experiences, the chicks develop just fine and are able to do their thing and end up hatching out into little, cute, wiggly, fluffy chicks. And now that the chicks that are going to hatch soon are all situated, they're going to go back into the incubator on top of eggs that have a while before hatch. Now I have a few more eggs to candle, but I'm just going to go ahead and candle them in this fashion, just shining a light down into them. And I'm just making sure that I see veins in these eggs to know that they're still growing and doing their thing. This one here, I wasn't sure, so it gets a question mark. This right here is one reason that I do like using the egg cartons, because once they're about a week or so old, it's a lot easier to just do a quick candle and make sure they're alive and viable. And it's just nice because you're not having to pick them up or move them too much in this process. This one here stopped developing at some point, and it's just a no veins little floaty glob. So that one's no good and gets taken out. These are the first few eggs that are first due to hatch, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick little candle of them just to make sure I see movement and veins. And looking at this next egg, I have good wiggles and jiggles within it, good veins, the air pocket looks really good, and it's just super cool to kind of sit and watch the little chicks wiggling inside. And this next egg, you can see a funny little dip in the side, and I'm betting that's going to be the one that hatches first. Just something I've noticed. When they dip like that, they're a little closer to hatching than possibly the other eggs. It's not exactly a good or a bad thing, but just a sign they're getting ready to hatch. This one here, it's a little hard to describe, but it's missing some veining. So I'm thinking this chick may not actually hatch. And the air cell is a little small, so we'll see if this one actually makes it. This next one looks really good, lots of veins, lots of little wiggling that I can see. Definitely a little tricky with the camera, but it's definitely a live chick that looks like it should be ready to hatch very soon. This next one is also super wiggly and looking like it's going to be hatching pretty soon too. On the other side, it has that same funny little dip that shows that it's getting ready to hatch pretty quick here. And just to show one of those eggs a little bit closer and what it looks like when they're closer to hatch, the chick is a very dark spot in the middle. And sometimes you think there's a lot more room in there than there should be, but all that room and space kind of shrinks away into the air cell. As they get ready to hatch, they absorb the yolk and get ready to pop out into the world. So during candling, I did have an oopsie. I dropped my flashlight and ended up smashing the air pocket to an egg, and I ended up removing all the little pieces of shell because they were kind of poking down into the membrane and I didn't want them causing any damage. So my oopsie is going to be a great show and tell opportunity. Definitely want to show this as quick as possible, but she has been like this for about 2 days, today being the 3rd day, but also being hatch day. So it's great to see that she's doing really well and she's internally pipped. She is pipped through the membrane and into the air pocket. But because she's all exposed like this and she has a higher chance of being shrink wrapped, the membrane has stayed pretty well moist. But I have been going through with a paintbrush, just dipped in water, and just very delicately painting this membrane. And it's very cool because you get to also see all the veins that are still full of blood inside of there. So I'll be able to continue watching this membrane and watching her progress, and hopefully she'll end up hatching without much problems. The fact that she's still doing very good with just this process of keeping her moist by painting the membrane with just water. So I'm hoping that she will continue her hatching progress today and into tomorrow. But since I can keep an eye on her just like this, I'll be able to help her if needed. And this is the same process you would do if you found a chick was shrink wrapped. You take off some of this shell, just enough to delicately dab the membrane with water, and then you'd put them back in the incubator to continue monitoring. But she's been doing really great, and I'm not too worried yet, but hopefully, as I said, she'll hatch out into a healthy chick. So you were able to see what an internal pip looks like from the inside, and this is what they look like from the outside. They poke their beak up through the membrane and make a little shadowy triangle. And here is the chick with the squished shell. She hatched out basically like normal. She even zipped, but essentially just knocked off more edge to the shell. And this little one just kind of popped out of a shell. I didn't even know it was pipped, but came out happy and bouncing and is now dry and fluffy. Try and get out. Try and get out. Almost out. Almost. Almost. Yay! I also want to say that I didn't help that chick entirely out of the shell because it's very important that they are the ones to do the work to get themselves out of the shell. So for whatever reason that maybe you accidentally break the shell, mama hen squishes the egg, you have to help a chick that is shrink wrapped inside of the egg, do your best to find out the system that works that makes them do the work. If they're shrink wrapped, keep that membrane moist enough that they can do the work. If they get crushed or broken, put them in a glass or a cup, keep them moist, but make it so they have to do the work to hatch. And we also have this egg who has externally pipped, meaning they've pipped through the shell and are ready to start zipping around the egg. So we're all just waiting for this little pipped fella to hatch so everybody can get moved into the brooder. This little fella had been externally pipped for a while, and then I noticed that they had started the zipping process, where they perforate all the way around the egg in order for the top to basically pop off. And I figured it was a good opportunity to kind of show you how they do that by just pushing their little beak into the shell and slowly cracking bits off. It's a slow process, but also a pretty quick process. This little fella took maybe 10 minutes to zip all the way around the egg. But let's pause for a minute and just watch the little cutie do his work. If you couldn't tell, the little first one to hatch was getting a little feisty, wanting to peck stuff, so it was time to take it out of the incubator and put him down into the brooder space. And I was excited to put my first little baby birdie into the brooder, and they won't be alone for long. And the first thing I do with a first chick into the incubator is show them how to drink. It's very gently just dipping the very tip of their beak into the water to show them that that's what it is and where it's at. And then you just splash your little finger in the water for a minute, and they'll figure it out pretty quick that they can drink that stuff that you're playing in. And then you let them sit and drink their fill, and that's pretty much it. And it's great because now that this little chick knows how to drink, it will show all the other chicks how to drink as well. They can figure it out by themselves, but I like it to be one of the first things that they do is to drink a little bit of water. So I just make sure that they know where it is, they know how to drink it, and then that chick will be able to teach everybody else. And it just works well, and I think is good for them to have a little bit of water right off the bat. And then, of course, to show the little baby where the food's at. But chicks usually are just going to survive off their yolk for the first couple of days, so she's not hungry yet. And in that time, this little chick had definitely made some good progress zipping out of the egg. It's always just the neatest thing that whatever makes them do what they do kicks in, and they know to zip and work their way around the egg in order to get out of the shell to hatch. And it's just, like I said, it's the neatest thing ever to watch, and I just enjoy it very much. It's like the cutest little worker ever. And then really soon after that, they had popped their way all the way out of the shell. And you can see that it's the two pieces, the bottom and then the top, that they popped off to pop out. Now this little chick is going to hang out by itself for a little while to dry and fluff up. And then it will join its siblings who are hanging out in the little brooder space. I also wanted to show the shell. When they pip and zip and come out of the egg with a clean looking egg like this, your temperature and humidity was good and it was a clean hatch. And I'm absolutely excited because not only did I hatch some eggs on Easter, but my broody birdie decided to really sit on her eggs this Easter. So not only do I have my all-natural incubator at work, my electrical incubator is working super great. And I am just absolutely excited for all the chicks we're hatching. Now, one of the eggs that was supposed to hatch today completely quit, which means there was no movement, all the veins had receded, and the chick was essentially just kind of floating in the egg. And I totally just kind of spaced recording that. So here in the future, any eggs that quit developing, I'll kind of show you the inside of the egg, what that looks like, and what may have happened. But now I am just waiting for one more egg to hatch. And once that egg hatches, everything is going to come out, be candled again, some new eggs are going to go in, and the cycle is just going to continue. Because in about 4 days, I have some more eggs that hopefully will hatch. And I cannot express my happiness and my excitement for hatching eggs. Now that I have my first few little baby birdies from my incubator, I'm just going to keep hatching as many little birdies as I possibly can. Some for me, some for others, some to sell, some to gift. Because they're just the coolest little gift for other fellow chicken tenders. Yay for chicks on Easter! Happy Easter, you guys, and happy hatching. Peace. Guess what? Did a chick butt.